Welcome to the Two Chumps Football Podcast. He's Emil Calamino. I'm Chad Wilson. And we are here moseying along through this season. We are up to, what are we on? Week 7, 8, week 8, college football.
Yes.
Week 7, NFL coming up. There's trades. There's all kind of movement going on in the NFL. What? I think another kid just sat out of the season, is going to take a red shirt. That's what we've got going on. This free agency everywhere. Nevertheless, we're not free agents. We are here for you all season long, so you might as well dig in. And the best way to do that is to go ahead and subscribe to the channel or subscribe to us on whatever you are listening to us on right now, whether it be Apple, Anchor, Spotify, whatever the case may be. Go ahead and hit that subscribe button. If you're watching us on YouTube, we'd appreciate it if you hit that subscribe button right after, you listen to this whole thing. We give you winners, and you guys like it, share, and do that whole thing. Subscribe. Hit the bell so you're notified when we put out another great show like this one. Emil, the sun is shining on you there. You just must have God's favor. I hope that's a prelude of things.
Would you like me to get up and close that for you?
Hey, listen, if you need to disappear to do that, because there's a massive glare on your face right now.
I'm going to disappear.
Our podcast audience doesn't know anything about this, but I will take it from here. You know what? Even to an empty chair, I am going to rant right now. I'm going to jump into my rant for the week. Listen, I've been holding my tongue on this, at least on this show. I don't on my social media channels, especially the ones, Emil, where I talk about defensive back play. But my rant is for the fans out there. I don't want to call you casuals. I don't want to get into the name calling and start labeling people, because we're in election season and there's enough with the labeling going on. So I don't want to label you guys. But you folks watching football on TV, not everything is pass interference. It's amazing to me, Emil, how folks will go out of their way to call something defensive pass interference. Case in point, we had this game on Monday night, which from a refereeing point of view was a complete and total abortion. 22 penalties called. It was terrible to watch on television. It had to be worse for those people in attendance there, because I've already told you, Emil, about what it's like to go to a game and be there in person, and they're just this constant stoppages in play. But nevertheless, there's a play out there where the DB basically made a good play on a long throw, stuck his hand in there. It was Bill's DB against the Jets. I forget the players involved. He might have been a millisecond early on Garrett Wilson, got the hand in there. Then the ball came up less than a second later. Ball stuff popped out of there. It's, in my opinion, a pass breakup. They call it a penalty. Everyone on Twitter is like, yeah, that's a penalty. That's a penalty. Flip side, we've got Oregon and Ohio State on Saturday night. And Jeremiah Smith, the young phenom wide receiver, who's a complete beast, by the way, to take nothing away from him, gets a crucial pass interference call, offensive pass interference call. Emil, you know what he did? Came off the ball, ran into the DB, shoved him off, turned around, called a pass. Nobody wants to call that pass interference. Well, it was called pass interference, but we're so offensive minded. We're so fantasy league minded. What do you guys really expect defensive backs to do out there? And do you really want a world where every time a wide receiver gets touched, it's pass interference, and then wide receivers could go out and knock guys off course and catch the ball? Do you guys really want 85 to 72 football games? Is that really what you guys want?
They do.
Guys, if it went the way that the fans out there would like it to be, this would be an unwatchable product, even for them. You would just OD on all the points, and then you guys would go back to whatever channels it was you were watching before you got
Can I make 2 points to your rant? One, if that was offensive pass interference, then Michael Irvin wouldn't even be in the NFL Hall of Fame. Okay?
Made a career out of that. Yeah, absolutely.
Made a career out of abusing defensive backs, throwing them around like rag dolls, right?
Yes.
Secondly, and I know nobody at the NFL is listening to me, so I'm just saying this for my own edification at this point. Go to the college rules. If you want to fix the NFL game, the college rules are much simpler to officiate. You can move a receiver or a DB until the ball's thrown. And if it is interference, it's 15 yards. And they still miss it in college on occasion. But at least We're not talking about 50-yard penalties here.
That's the best play in anyone's offensive playbook right now is chuck the ball deep, one-on-one, preferably short, so the DB runs into the wide receiver. You get yourself a free 40, 50, however long your quarterback can throw the ball a yard. The other thing is we had that 5-yard chuck rule because Mel Blount was jamming the hell out of wide receivers who just didn't. They were new to press man coverage being in their face. A lot of these guys were coming out of three-point stances, so you needed to have that. Now these guys are a lot more athletic. They have bigger and higher IQs. So, yes, they know how to avoid press coverage. You don't need that 5-yard chuck any rule, but
I've had that debate with fans that
me.
tell me about Mel Blount, and I was around for Mel, as a kid. And I tell them, do they score in the college game? Yeah. You do realize that the guys playing in the NFL played in college, right? I mean,
I don't know why we have these different rules, but nevertheless, that's my rant, Emil, and that's the way that it goes.
It's a legit rant. You're right to be frosted.
Yeah, you folks tell us how you feel about it down in the comments. I'm sure you've got something to say about it because you guys watch these games every week and you're yelling pass interference on every incomplete pass. Nevertheless, Emil, let's slide strict right away, right now into our college football. How did we do last week? The folks in.
You carried us last week in everything, so I'm heavy. I apologize. You were 2-1, very, very good. You got your overall record up to 8-13. You're creeping up. I have a feeling we're going to have a couple 3-0 weeks from you. I know how you roll. I've been around you for a couple decades now. You had Clemson winner, Rutgers. I don't know what they did last week.
Yeah, they hosed me for sure.
Yeah, and then what was my favorite pick. You went off the sheet on the sheet. You took Buffalo, not the Bills, the Bulls, over Toledo.
Easiest game of the day for me.
Easiest game of the day for you. So you were 2-1. Me, I was 1-2 again. And literally 7 weeks of the college season, I have 7 1-2 weeks, which is actually an embarrassment.
You're consistent. Let's just say that.
I had Alabama. I don't even have to talk about it. I have no idea. That team has a problem. Okay? What they did,
doubt.
If that South Carolina quarterback was half competent, Alabama loses the game. So Alabama was a loser. Tennessee, very unimpressive. I thought they'd be able to do more against Florida. They barely won that game in overtime.
They tend to have problems with the Gators.
They do. That was and then my one winner was Cal. I felt coming off Miami that Cal's a pretty good football team. They lost a heartbreaker at Pitt 17-15. I caught 3.5 there. So 1-2. So we're going to roll into our picks this week. I'll go first like I always do in college. You go first in the NFL, and we'll see how we do.
Sure.
We're going to fix this, okay? I'm taking a lot of points this week. First game up, I know Indiana's ranked. They're 6-0, but Nebraska's 5-1. Only loss against a very competent Illinois team. I think this is a little too much cheese for Indiana, as you like to say. 6.5 seems a little bit much in a game that I expect to be a very hotly contested game. Someone wins a close one at the end. Give me Nebraska plus 6.5. Next up, this is purely a play on when this team's decent, and I think they're decent this year. They are a pain in the ass to play. They're a pain in the ass to play when they stink, but they're a real pain in the ass when they're decent. Georgia Tech's a 5-2 football team. Notre Dame rolls in off an easy win over Stanford. Georgia Tech catches 11.5 points in this game. I think in the end, Notre Dame's talent wins the game. But Georgia Tech's a physical, well-coached team that runs a pain-in-the-ass offense. Give me Georgia Tech plus 11.5. And then finally, I mentioned Alabama has problems. Yes, I didn't win with Tennessee last week, but this is a big rivalry game. Anybody who knows SEC football knows Alabama and Tennessee goes back to the 40s. Big rivalry. I'm going to grab Tennessee plus 3 here because I really do believe Alabama has problems.
Interesting. You're taking two teams that disappoint. You're taking a game with two teams that disappointed you last week.
I am.
You're doubling down on one of these characters. It's going to be Tennessee. So recapping, Emil's taking Nebraska plus 6.5, taking on Indiana. He likes the pesky Georgia Tech Rambling Wreck. It's been a while since I've heard him call that. Plus 11.5 against Notre Dame. And then he likes Tennessee to kind of continue the woes and misery for Alabama. He likes them +3 against the Crimson Tide. Here's where I'm going. I've got a couple of Friday games for you. So for you folks out there, pay attention, get on this early. Don't go looking for this pick on Saturday because these first two are Friday night specials. I'm happy to give them to you. All right. 10:15 on Friday. We have got Oklahoma State taking on BYU. Oklahoma State has stunk it up the last 3 games, Emil. All right. They're on a 3-game losing streak after opening up the season undefeated, let's say. They were 3-0. Now they're 3-3. They went into it. Listen, Mike Gundy's a good football coach. He's proven that. He's one of the longest tenured coaches right now in college football. There's something to be said for that. When you go out and you play a home game like you did against West Virginia and you lose by 3 touchdowns and then you have a bye week, I am for certain there will be some changes and some things that BYU is not really ready for. Plus, you're going to get a very spirited Oklahoma State team coming into this football game. That doesn't bode well for BYU, who just went out last week and beat a name brand team. You could call Arizona that. Went out and handled Arizona by also 3 touchdowns in that game. I don't think, even though these are grown men at BYU, all right, they're married and they have children, they're still susceptible to falling back and feeling a little too good for themselves. That's what I think is going to happen here. So give me Oklahoma State +9.5. Also on Friday, Fresno State is traveling to take on Nevada. All right, this is not your typical Fresno State team, Emil. I mean, we're used to seeing better performances from them, but what Fresno still does have is pride. They're off of back-to-back losses, and I think this is a game where they really just try and rally it together. Right now, they're a 3-3 football team, but they still have a chance to do some big things in this season. And then none of that's going to happen if they go and mess around with Nevada. I think they come into this game highly motivated. Nevada is not in the same category, I would say, as a Fresno State. They're a 3-4 football team that, all right, they're probably expected to be 3-4. What they did do last week was pull off a nice upset against Oregon State. They're going to be a little giddy. They're going to be drinking the juice, and they've got a short week to prepare. I don't think that's good stuff for Nevada. I'm going to take Fresno State in this one. They're laying a small number, 2.5. I am staying off the big games this week, so I'm keeping you in the Mountain West, and I'm going to go take on this game between New Mexico State and Utah State. Maybe some of y'all are familiar with the teams involved. What I'm familiar with, Emil, is winning, and that is, I think New Mexico comes into this game in the better frame of mind. They're the kind of team that is going to probably take some offense to where they are in the season. Believe it or not, they are that kind of football team. Utah State has struggled mightily this season. They have not been all that competitive in some games here. Your Trojans, what'd they do? Hang 48 on those guys?
Shut them out.
Yeah, and they're just not a good football team right now. I think New Mexico comes in here with a little better feel, a little better feeling of we can still win this season. I think Utah State is at this point where we just pack it in. We're not very good this year. And even though New Mexico is not a winning football team and they're on the road laying points, that will scare some people away. It does not scare Chad away. I am going to lay that small number with New Mexico against a Utah State team that has just been non-competitive in very many games this year. I believe they've been blown out 71-0 in a contest.
So, folks, my friend here is taking Oklahoma State to come back and maybe pull the upset even at BYU. Plus, but
very possible.
They don't have to upset them. Oklahoma State +9.5. He's got Fresno State -2.5 and New Mexico -2. He's basically staying off the sheet in his regular picks, which leads me perfectly into our next segment, which is what we call off the sheet in college football. There's 130 teams. Most of them aren't in the Power 5, or at least a good chunk of them. Now, what's interesting in this section, where I've been abysmal in regular college football this year, I'm 2-0 off the sheet so far, and my friend here is 0-2. So
you definitely found something with these off the sheet picks.
I'm going to let him go first here and get it off his chest. He's going to get his first off the sheet win right now.
Oh yeah, absolutely coming. But I'm going to go to the MAC conference, and it's a battle of two teams that suck. All right. Pitt State has not won a game this season. Bowling Green is, unfortunately 2-4, not normal for a Bowling Green football team. But listen, Kent is very far away from winning football games right now. They started off the year not being able to score points at all, getting blown out, 71-0, getting blown out 56-0 in back-to-back games by Tennessee and Penn State. They fix the offense a little bit last week. They roll up 35 points versus Ball State. Problem is they allowed 37. So they're a winless football team. I think they got close last week, weren't able to pull it out. That's probably let all of the air out of the balloon. Once we start getting to the other side of the 6th and 7th game of a college football season, teams just really start getting to the point of accepting what is the reality. And the reality for Kent State is you're nowhere near being good. Bowling Green, however, and it's funny, we do get a common opponent here, really hung in there against Penn State. They scared Penn State a little bit earlier in the season, and they did the same at Texas A&M. Both of these are road games against Power 4 teams. I like the spunk that Bowling Green has shown this season, though they don't really have much on the win-loss ledger to show for it. They're 2-4. They are coming off of a loss last week against Northern Illinois. They're back home. They are the winners in this football game. It's just by how much. And there's nothing to make you feel better on a bad season than to cover a big number, like I believe it's 20.5. Give me Bowling Green, because somewhere in that third quarter, Kent State's going to be like, oh, here we go again. Pack it in, boys. Where are the ladies? They'll be thinking about that middle of the third.
I have to say, I think you found something here. I wish I found it first. But you know what? That's okay, because I won last.
You have to find your own.
I won last week on Texas State. I'm coming back to an old steady here. You know, anybody watching this Army-Navy game at the end of the year, it's always a good game. But this year, I'm actually excited to watch this game.
You've definitely done a good job promoting it. No doubt.
No, it's going to be big time. They're both undefeated. They're both going to play Notre Dame in the coming weeks. But go down Army's schedule, folks. They're not just winning games. They're obliterating anything and everything in their path. And this week, I see a line, and I'm thinking, East Carolina is a pretty decent football team over the years. They're 3-3. They're not horrible by any means. And yet this line sits at 15. You know, it's almost like they want me to grab East Carolina because, you know, people know East Carolina football. They've been in bowl games. They're not going to be in this game, okay? Army's going to go out and do what they've done to their first 6 opponents. They're going to blow East Carolina off the field this Saturday. I love the Cadets here.
I don't blame you for, and you did call them an old steady. Army's playing really good football this year. Not many people are going to know about it because not a lot of people pay attention to Army until that game in December against Navy, which I will second that. It's going to be a really good game this year. But yeah, I'm with you on that. I like our off the sheet picks.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah, well, I mean, I like them because it's the only thing I'm winning right now.
Here you go. Here's to you going 3-0. Emil is hot off the sheet. I'm trying to warm up off the sheet. So we got a couple of those that you could just slide into your parlay and take it from a 12-team parlay to a 13 parlay, because we know what you guys do out there.
And make sure you tip us.
Yeah, there you go. Throw a little something our way. Or at the very least, go visit our sponsor, Bovada Sportsbook. The link is in the description. Just go ahead and hit it, open up an account, and say that the Two Chumps sent you. All right, we're on to NFL, Emil. Let's get a recap.
Okay, you carried us. Now, here's the thing. My partner here has been killing the NFL, so let's start with him. He's 2-1 again last week. He's 14-4 on the season. If you're not playing Chad's NFL picks, shame on you.
By the way, Emil, if you played that game late, the one that I did lose by a half point because, you know, I don't know what Washington was doing there, you probably caught yourself a push there, but...
Well, that was a pro tip last week. You know, we talked about this. When we give out a game for scoring purposes, we give you the line. I mean, if I'm taking the Redskins in that game plus 6.5, I'm making it 7 and paying a little big. Okay, so shame on you if you lost by half a point. But, yeah, he lost the Washington pick. They lost 30-23. It was a half-point loser. Everybody listening to this show should have got a push if you're playing properly. He had the Browns plus 9, great pick. The Eagles still have problems. You saw that the Browns have problems as well, but when you're getting 9 points, that's good. You know, it was a tight ball game the whole night, the whole afternoon, and then finally on Monday night, you squeaked one out by half a point.
Yeah, that one, I sweated it more than I thought I was going to sweat it.
Yeah.
But, you know, listen, as it came down to it, all of the things that changed for the Jets, I started getting the jitters. because when you shake up a coaching staff like that and include that they removed the offensive coordinator, I realize I might have some problems because the Jets are gonna throw some things at the Bills that they didn't see on film. So
Yeah. So anyway, you got 2-1. I'm going to go through mine quick because last week was a disaster. I was fine going into last week. My NFL picks were fine. I went 0-3. I'm sitting at 500 now. I'm 9-9. I took the Jags. Simple. I didn't think Caleb Williams was as far along as he is. He seems to have figured this out. We'll see if he
I will
keeps.
agree.
Yeah.
Yes.
Seems to have figured this out. I took the Saints. Poor performance. Yes, I knew Derek Carr was out. I liked them getting the points in that game. And they scored 27 points. Offense wasn't the problem. Giving up 51 was. And then finally, I took the Raiders against the Steelers. I still don't think the Steelers are a good football team, but the Raiders showed me they're a really bad football team. So shame on me. 0-3, 9-9 on the season. I'm going to fix that this week. You go first here.
You're going to throw me into the logs right now. Well, I hate to do this, Emil, but listen, you did not have a lot of success dating the New Orleans Saints last week. I'm going to go slide in there and pick them up off the trash heap that you've probably thrown them on. By the way, you folks listening, this is a Thursday night football game. By the time you get to Saturday, folks, I'm hopeful you've already got 3 winners in the bag, but I am going to support the New Orleans Saints. Yes, I know Derek Carr is out. Yes, I know they've got injuries in the receiving corps, including their guy, Chris Olave. Whether he plays or doesn't play doesn't matter to me. I know they're missing an offensive lineman. I'm telling you that right now off the bat. For those of you that think that Derek Carr being out is a super big deal, I'm here to tell you it's not. Spencer Rattler is a good football player. He is a good quarterback. I think he will look even better than he did last week because he looked good last week, Emil. It was a defense that was the problem. And if you have any pride in this league, which I think the New Orleans Saints have, you are going to come off of a game in which you gave up 51 points at home and produce something of quality when the game is again home this week. They're getting Denver in on a short week. I know Denver did not play that well themselves, but this line is too low. It's under 3 points. Give me the New Orleans Saints, who were embarrassed last week, back home in a Thursday night game against a traveling team on short rest. Give me New Orleans Saints. I believe the number is the Saints are actually underdogs in this game. So
yeah, they're getting 2.5.
That makes it all the better for me. All right. No one likes Cleveland except I do. Cleveland did me right last week. I'm going to take them to the dance again. They're getting Cincinnati at home. People love Cincinnati. Even though Cincinnati's 2-4 and they're not playing good football, everyone loves them. And so do the odds makers, who are going to dupe you into believing that a 2-4 Cincinnati football team is worthy of laying damn near a touchdown at 6.5. I'm not buying it. Yes, Deshaun Watson is nowhere close to living up to his contract. Yes, they just got rid of Amari Cooper. All right, they sent him over to the Bills. That might have been a problem in the past game, for all I know. Who knows? Whatever the case may be, I know the Cleveland Browns are capable of playing solid defense. I know they're at home. And you're at a point in the season where you got to make some kind of a stand, and you're getting a division opponent who is not a winner coming home, and you're a big underdog. Give me Cleveland again. They tried Cleveland again this week. Give me Cleveland again. There'll be a big adjustments by odds makers come next week, and that's when Cleveland will probably get their head blown. Finally, for me, I am going to go with another team that was involved in some trade hoopla this year. They finally sent Devontae Adams out of Las Vegas. He didn't like the showgirls, and he didn't like anything that was going on in the Raiders organization. And he even said it on the receiver, the receiver show that they had with Netflix. Get me out of there. And so he got his wish. He's over, and he and Aaron Rodgers are sharing an apartment in Manhattan or something, whatever the case may be. He's out of there. I think the Raiders are getting way too many points in this game as they go back to their real home, Los Angeles, to take on the Rams. Emil, I am pretty sure there'll be more Raider fans than Ram fans in SoFi come Sunday. And the Rams, who have not been, they've been up and down, but mostly down this season. It's not a team right now that should be laying 6.5 points, if that's what we're talking about here. Almost a touchdown. They've shown nothing this year that says they should be that kind of a favorite against anyone. I wouldn't even like them at 6.5 versus Carolina. they're doing it against a Raider team coming in here off of a loss against the Pittsburgh Steelers. Raiders will be pissed off. They'll make a stand here. It'll be a fight, and I love them getting points, too many points, damn near a touchdown.
Okay, so my friend here's got the Saints plus 2.5, the Browns plus 6.5, the Raiders plus 6.5, and for all you people listening, all of those, if I were you, pay the juice, take them up to the even numbers.
Yeah, push them to 7, but we've got some dogs barking
Yes.
this week.
I'm going to make mine quick and simple. First game, everybody knows I'm not a huge Kirk Cousins guy, but I'm going to tell you right now, preseason, I had the Seattle Seahawks as a bad football team, and I looked like a fool the first 3 weeks of the season, but they're kind of proving me right so far. They've lost 3 in a row, and I think that misery continues this week. The Falcons are sneaky good right now, really good offensive line, one of the top 2 or 3 offensive lines in the league, and they're laying 3 at home. I think they win this game by at least a touchdown. Give me the Falcons -3. Big game, Packers, Texans. I feel like the Packers are starting to hit their stride right now. Jordan Love's, made some mistakes early in the season, seems to be correcting that. Good blowout win last week against the Cardinals. I think the Texans are due for a loss. Last week, the Bills kind of handed them a game. My rant was about the time management in that game a couple weeks ago. I think they get their loss right here. Both teams come in with good records. I think the Packers walk away, win the game. Give me the Packers -3. And then finally, the Jets make the big trade. They lose Monday night. Normally, I don't like teams coming off short weeks here, but the Steelers are tailor-made for the Jets. I mean, the Jets defense should be able to contain the Steeler offense. And let's be honest, Jets lose this game, they're 2-5. Their season's over. So give me the Jets -1.5.
All right, summarizing Emil's NFL slate of picks this week as he picks himself up off the mat. Emil likes the Atlanta Falcons laying 3 points this week. Also likes the Green Bay Packers, who are at home against the surging Houston Texans. He likes them laying 3 points, so that's a pair of 3-point spreads you need to drop there. And then he also likes the New York Jets with newly acquired Devontae Adams to be the winners in their contest this week, laying 1.5 on the road against the Pittsburgh Steelers. All right, just a moment now for us to check out our sponsor.
Hey, sports fans, if you're looking to take your game day excitement to a whole new level, then you got to check out Bovada Sportsbook. Whether you're into football, basketball, it's baseball playoff times, pretty much any sport, Bovada has everything you need. Best odds, live betting, and fast, secure payouts. And here's the best part. When you sign up today, Bovada is giving you a 50% welcome bonus on your first deposit. That's up to $250. That's free money to get you started just for joining the action. It's super easy to sign up, and they've got you covered with all the top games, player props, and more. Ready to bet, win, and repeat? Head over to Bovada and get in the game. Check out the link down in the description below, and let's go get those winners.
All right, and we're back. We are now going to, Emil, I'm going to give the floor to you, as you are going to give everyone their survivor's pick. You played against me last week. You played against my pick on Cleveland by picking the Philadelphia Eagles to win. You got yourself a win as a survivor. I got myself a win as a Cleveland Brown underdog supporter. So everybody went home a winner so far as that is concerned. What do you have for the folks this week who need to stay alive and not let Lucy Team Accounting continue to...
If you can still use them, grab the Commanders, the Redskins, as we call them on the show. They're playing a very bad Panthers team. They're at home. They're over a touchdown favorite. They just got to win the game. They're coming off a really hard-fought loss against the Ravens. No shame in that. You got to take care of this game. If you're the Commanders, you got sights on a division title. Dallas doesn't look very good. The Giants stink. It's you and the Eagles. You can't give up a game and lose to the Panthers. Use the Commanders.
All right, that's it. Our survivor pick of the week from my man, Emil Calamino. Fresh off that win last week with the Philadelphia Eagles. He's going to stay in the East. He's not messing with that team in Dallas. He is taking the Washington Redskins. You guys can call them the Commanders as his survivor pick this week.
I guarantee you Dallas won't lose this week.
Well, yeah, it's the best week of the year for them right now. Plenty of time for Jerry Jones to go and hit the radio waves and threaten more radio. Time now for the prize pick prop bet segment of the week. I need to make a comeback after last week was a complete waste of time. Out of the 3 individuals that I had in the prop picks parlay, 2 of them couldn't make it to the floor. So James Cook didn't play against the Jets on Monday night, and Rashad White did not play against New Orleans for Tampa Bay. The only pick that made it to the floor, Tony Pollard, did what I didn't need him to do. He went well over 64.5 yards rushing. I'll fare a whole lot better this week. Let me jump straight into it. First of all, we are going to talk about the matchup between the Los Angeles Chargers and the Arizona Cardinals. The Cardinals have been struggling against the run for most of the season, and they decided to do something about it last week, and it cost them in the passing game. All right, they got completely lit up by Jordan Love, threw 4 touchdowns. So I think the Arizona Cardinals are going to just slide back to what they're doing. They're not going to load up on that line of scrimmage and be so hell-bent against the run as much this week because they are going up against one Justin Herbert. Yes, I know the Los Angeles Chargers are a ground and pound type of football team, but the last thing that the Arizona Cardinals want to do is expose their secondary like they did again. So I don't think they're going to commit as much to stopping that run this week to give that secondary some help. And I think that's going to be bad news for them once again in the run game. They've just got a leaky defense right now. You help the run, you give up the pass, you help the pass, you give up the run. This week, I think they go back to not giving up the big plays, which was really their undoing in the blowout last week. And I think they're going to get back to giving that secondary a little help and be a little bit more traditional in terms of the scope of their defense and the way that they like to do things. And that's going to open up the doors for a very good running football team in the Los Angeles Chargers. And the biggest beneficiary of that is going to be J.K. Dobbins. The guy's a damn good running back. He can run with the best of them. And I just think his number at 73.5 at Prize Picks right now is too low. I think he's got 90 to 100 yards written all over him against the Arizona Cardinals. I think that's where the Chargers are going to attack because that's what they would do anyway. And that Arizona run defense is attackable. So give me, as the first part in this thing, J.K. Dobbins over 73.5 yards rushing. You can take that thing all the way out to 70, 78. Like I said, I think he's in the 90s to 100 yards rushing. I'd be surprised if he doesn't tally up those kind of numbers. The next 2 are coming from one game, and you're going to have to wait all the way till Monday night. But I think these are your best bets on that, and that is Denver traveling to take on the New Orleans Saints. The number on Spencer Rattler is low because he is a rookie quarterback that was not taken in the first round. He's not one of the big rookie quarterback names. I'm here to tell you Spencer Rattler can really play football. And with another week under his belt and a little more comfort running out there in front of the hometown crowd, having his number at 185 yards passing is quite low. He threw for 243 last week against the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, a divisional foe. And I think with Denver, probably is the idea for Denver here is going to be stop that run. It's kind of what they try to do anyway. They're going to say, let's let the rookie quarterback beat us. And I think Spencer Rattler is a lot better than people think. So I definitely think he's going to be over 185 yards. So take Spencer Rattler over 185 yards passing. And with the receiving injuries that are out there, I think Alvin Kamara is going to be a big part of what Spencer Rattler and the New Orleans Saints offense does this week. See more dump out passes to Alvin Kamara, the screens, the throws in the flat, and the dump downs over the middle. And I think that's going to lead to him accumulating some yards. He only had 23, I believe, last week. His number is 36 this week, and that's not by accident. And I like him to go over that. I can see Alvin Kamara getting somewhere from 51 to 57 yards receiving in this game. And so that bodes well for over 36.5. So just wrapping this whole thing up, I like J.K. Dobbins over 73.5 yards rushing. I like Spencer Rattler over 185 yards passing. And Alvin Kamara over 36.5 yards receiving in the Monday Night Football game. That's your Prize Picks parlay of the week. Take it to the bank. We're going to end our show with our head-to-head segment. First off is college football. Since I was the winner last week in our head-to-head matchup, going with Oregon, taking Oregon again after they did some things to me the week before. They came up big for me last week, so I am the winner of that. So I am going The survivor, I mean, not the survivor, the head-to-head matchup game here this week is going to be the big one on Saturday as Georgia takes on Texas. I'm on the side of the Texas Longhorns. If there's one thing that has looked apparent to me, is we've gone through 7 weeks now of the college football season, is that Texas is the best team in the country. Yes, I am a Miami Hurricane alumni, but I am also a realist. Right now, as it stands, we are a damn good football team. I'm talking about the Hurricanes, but right now we're not on the level of Texas Longhorns, who look to be good in every facet of the game. Great on offense, good quarterback, explosive playmakers. Maybe they would love to have a couple of their running backs healthy, but they're running the ball well. They're dominant on defense. They play well on special teams. And they go out every week and just look like it's not a problem at all. They thoroughly impressed me on the road against Michigan. At the time, Michigan thought they were going to be a really good football team this year, and they went out and hammered those guys. I think what we've got here in terms of the number, which Emil, I think is 3.5, if I could check on that.
It is.
It's 3.5. I think we've got this a name brand thing going on here. Georgia's been wildly successful over the last few years, but as I've watched Georgia play, I just don't think it's that kind of Georgia team this year. Carson Beck is shaky. The defense is not what it's been in the years past, but because of previous success, that's keeping this number down. Texas far and away. They're touchdown.
I think you're falling into the mousetrap here. I get it. Texas has the recruiting classes, and Texas is going to be in the playoff, but who have they played? We say Michigan. Yeah, they played Michigan. Michigan lost to Washington, right? They lost to Washington. They played Oklahoma. Oklahoma's not very good this year. I mean, they're average. Now they come and play Georgia. Georgia gave up 41 points to Alabama, 31 to Mississippi State. Georgia's got the players. So there's something that has to be corrected defensively. And a team with the pride of the Georgia Bulldogs already coming in here with a loss. I mean, you lose this game, now you're on the brink of maybe missing the playoff because you have no more room for error. They can't afford to lose this game. I mean, Georgia's getting 3.5 points. I think this is a tight football game. I think Georgia's still got the studs to stay up with Texas. I mean, it's not like all of a sudden Georgia went from here to I think they're overestimating Texas here and underestimating a team with a lot of pride and a lot of championship pedigree, the Georgia Bulldogs.
I'd almost be with you, Emil, if Georgia didn't respond the way that they did after these last couple of games after getting slapped around by Alabama. I just didn't like the response. So that makes me feel like you might not be that good this year.
The concerning thing, if Georgia didn't score against Mississippi State, I'd be more concerned. But I know Georgia's got players on defense. So that tells me a lack of focus, maybe some scheme things. But I've got to think their coaches will have their full attention this week. And maybe even that might turn out to be a positive for them because they have a whole game that they won against a bad team in the SEC where the coaches can put that film on and say, look at this trash we put on the field. If you do that, Texas is going to hang 60 points on you. And I think Georgia's going to come with it.
I'm Team Longhorn. He's Team Bulldog. We'll see how this shakes out in our college football head-to-head matchup. Emil, you were the winner in the NFL head-to-head matchup last week.
I was. The Cincinnati Bungles didn't bungle it. They scored at the end and gave me a cover.
Man, what a lucky win there for you.
I think my buddy here is starting to hit the medicinal marijuana shops down in Florida, taking the Giants as a pick. But anyway, we have a great game this Monday night. Actually, a game a lot of Monday night games I go in and out of, between Netflix and I'll watch a quarter. This one, I think I'll watch the whole game. The Ravens are playing the Bucks in Tampa. The Bucks are catching 3.5 points, and I'm all over the Bucks in this game. I know the Ravens are probably one of the 2 or 3 teams I think can win a Super Bowl this year, okay? And the Bucks aren't. But in this situation, I think the Bucks are a sneaky, tough team for the Ravens to play. They're coming off a big win this past Sunday at home against a surprisingly good Redskins team. Now they go on the road. They play the Bucks. The Bucks are sneaky good. They're 4-2. Baker Mayfield has found the guy that everybody thought he was coming out of Oklahoma. He's got some weapons down there. I just like Tampa. I think this game will be a tight ball game in that I wouldn't be surprised if Baltimore won by a point. But what I do know is I'd be very surprised if Baltimore blows out Tampa here. So give me the Bucks plus 3.5.
And the only thing I'm worried about here for the Baltimore Ravens is the humidity. And the quarterback's from Florida, and the running back is from Florida. They'll be just fine, all right? I've got 2 4-2 football teams. One of them is named the Baltimore Ravens. The other one is named the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. If there's one scenario that I don't think is going to be happening when Tuesday morning rolls around, is that Baltimore is 4-3 and Tampa Bay is 5-2 after these two teams have played together. If there's one thing that can make a team feel drunk, a little lackadaisical, maybe not on point, off the details, a little lackluster the following week, is blowing out your division opponent on the road the way the Tampa Bay Buccaneers just completely drug the New Orleans Saints around Mercedes-Benz Stadium last week. You can develop inflammation in the cranium after something like that. And when you've got someone like the Baltimore Ravens coming to town, you need to be on point. You can't be drunk. You can't be lackluster. You can't be lackadaisical. You can't be suffering from a swollen cranium. Baltimore is going to come in here, and they definitely are at full attention after seeing Tampa Bay put up 51 points. I like the Ravens to throw a little bit of sand on the fire that is Baker Mayfield right now and kind of turn this thing up. How are they going to do it? They're just going to out-physical this Tampa Bay football team.
Fair enough, but I think this is a tough spot for them on the road. I'll tell you one thing I think I would be on in this game the more I think about it. I think there's going to be a lot of points scored. For some reason,
Really?
I think it's going to be an entertaining ball game.
I wouldn't be surprised if Baltimore went heavy on the ground and ran the clock and played that kind of game. But you could be right.
Yeah, well, I know one thing. I'm going to be right about Georgia, and I'm going to be right about the Tampa Bay Buccaneers.
There's no way you go 2-0 in head-to-head. I don't see. We'll see if Bucks win. But nevertheless, our head-to-head NFL matchup this week, he's a Buccaneer, I'm a Raven, and we're going to see how this one flows. All right. That's going to be it for us. We appreciate you guys stopping in and checking us out. Hey, you guys, drop a comment down there below. Let us know how you feel about this week's game. And if you have an absolute solid take it to the house winner, go ahead and hit it in the comments. You won't be able to run from it. It's going to be right there. If you're watching us on YouTube, what is your can't miss winner of the week? Drop it down there in the comment section. For the rest of you out there, again, listen to, we hope you've enjoyed listening to us on the show. Don't forget to subscribe, whether you're on Anchor, Spotify, Apple Podcasts, whatever you are. We'd appreciate it if you guys would go ahead and subscribe to the show. You guys on YouTube, do the same. And until next week, he's Emil Calamino. I'm Chad Wilson. Thanks for watching and listening to the Two Chumps Football Podcast.